So guys, whenever you're playing as black, you're always at a slight disadvantage because white always makes the first move. But let me tell you, there is this one solid opening for black, which is very easy to play. And in just the first 10-15 moves, you can easily neutralize white's advantage. And in many cases, you can even gain a much superior position. Not only this, it also has a great win percentage at all levels. Well, the opening I'm talking about is the Caro-Kann Defense, and in this video, I'll give you a really easy strategy to show you exactly how to play this. But before starting off, I would like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Alright, so when white starts with e4, you have to play c6, and this is called the Caro-Kann Defense. Now white obviously takes full control of the center, and that's when you play d5. Our main objective is to fight for the center. Now since we are attacking this pawn, white has to do something about this. Basically, he has three options. He can either take this pawn, or he can push forward, or he can simply defend this pawn. Now we will look at all these different variations, but I don't want to confuse you, so I will give you a very simple game plan which will work in every variation. So please focus on this video right now because the next 2-3 minutes are going to be very important. Alright, first and foremost, I want you to understand the purpose and placement of each of these pieces. Now for these two pawns, their purpose is to attack the center, and that's why we played d5. Now let's say for example he captures this pawn. Well, just recapture, simplify the center, and we enter the exchange variation of the Caro-Kann. After white's move, now let's talk about this knight. In almost all cases, you will place this knight on the c6 square because the main purpose of this knight is to apply pressure on all these central pawns. So remember, your knight belongs to c6. Okay, now let's talk about this bishop. In the Caro-Kann, this bishop is generally developed to either f5 or g4. Whenever white brings out his knight to f3, g4 becomes the ideal square for the bishop because you pin the knight and indirectly apply pressure on the center. Now if the knight is not here, then obviously we cannot bring the bishop to g4 because of the queen. So then you can develop the bishop to f5. In this case, since the knight is here, we play bishop to g4. Okay, now let's talk about the other bishop. Now once the light squared bishop moves out of this pawn chain, only then it's a good idea to push this pawn forward. So e6 gives us this beautiful pawn chain and opens up the diagonal for this bishop. After white castles, you can bring out the bishop, but let's also talk about the other knight. Now ideally, whenever this f6 square is available, you should look to get your knight there. But in some variations, you'll have a white pawn on d5, so knight f6 won't be possible. In such games, you'll have to maneuver your knight to g6 or f5. I will show this in the other variations, but for the moment, f6 is straightforward, so we place the knight there. Okay, now whenever he attacks our bishop with this pawn, we will simply take the knight. The point is that this knight is slightly better because it is a strong defender of the center, so eliminating it is generally a good idea. So we take the knight, white recaptures, and now we can simply develop this bishop. These two squares are generally good for the bishop. But here, since we have this beautiful open diagonal, bishop to d6 is a good option. Next, king safety is important, so we castle on the king side. And finally, it's time to bring out the gorgeous lady, our queen. But right now, it is defending the knight, so we need to do something about this bishop. Let's attack it with h6, push him back even further, and this gives us a wonderful opportunity to exchange the bishops, demolish his pawn structure, which ultimately weakens his king. In fact, you can take immediate advantage of this. Can you find the idea? Yes, we have queen b6 going after both these pawns. We are ready to pull the trigger and fire on this exposed king. It's just move number 14, and these are the kinds of superior positions you can get by playing the Caro-Kann opening. By the way, at any point, if white pins your knight like this, there's not much to worry because in any case, even if he captures your knight, you gain an even better pawn structure which solidifies your central control. Now with all these important ideas in mind, we can easily deal with all the common moves that white can play. So let's look at some of the important variations. But before that, if you like my work and want to show your support, then do hit that like button below this video right now. Okay, so after this pawn exchange, let's say white goes c4. This is the Panov variation. Now do remember all the rules that we discussed earlier because we'll apply them in every variation. Now here, we have an option to capture this pawn, but that simply allows white to activate his bishop. So that's something you want to avoid. Now you can play knight c6, but it's better to add a defender to this pawn. So why not first play knight f6 since we already know that this is a good square for the knight. Look, Even though the ideas remain the same, our move order is flexible. It's okay to interchange your moves depending on your requirement. So here, instead of bringing out this knight, we can first develop the other knight. And once you're comfortable, then you can play knight c6. If he takes, that's actually great for you because now this d4 pawn is isolated and it becomes very, very weak. Anyway, if he plays knight f3, you know what to do, right? Yes, bring out the bishop to g4. Exchanging this knight is not a good idea because you allow him to recapture and defend this pawn, so just avoid that. Anyway, bishop e2, and now since this bishop is out, it's time to activate the other bishop. So e6, then bishop d6 or bishop e7 is also fine. If knight takes, recapturing with the pawn makes it isolated, so it's better to take with the queen. And finally, after all this, you can just castle, and our strategy remains the same. Just apply the basic principles of chess and you should be good to go. Alright, so we've looked at the exchange variation of the Caro-Kann. Now let's look at the most common response you will see from white, and that is e5. He pushes forward, so we call this the advance variation. Now here, you cannot bring out the knights immediately. So what do? Do you remember the purpose of these pawns? Yes, we have to use them to attack the center. That's why we'll push c5. The idea is to pressurize this pawn and also free up this important square for our knight. And if he takes, don't worry. These pawns are extremely weak. We can regain them very soon. Now e6 locks down our bishop. So hold on. For the moment, let's develop this knight and attack the pawn. If knight f3, you know what to do, right? Just pin the knight. And once the bishop is out, then you can play e6. This pawn is in danger. If he defends, you can very well play bishop e2, but then what about this knight? Remember, I told you earlier that in some variations, you won't be able to place your knight here. This is what I was talking about. Now, if you play bishop e2, you're taking away this square also from the knight. So the knight is stuck. In such situations, our plan is to maneuver this knight to either f5 or g6. So first, we'll go knight e7. In the meanwhile, if he attacks our bishop, you already know that we have to exchange these pieces and then we can simply pick up this pawn. From here is the exact same plan. We'll relocate the knight, develop the bishop and castle on the king side. It's quite straightforward. Now on similar lines, in the advanced variation, after c5, even if he defends this pawn, we'll still bring out the knight as usual. If he takes this, you take on e5. He ends up with these doubled pawns, so that's actually great for you. And even if he plays a normal development move like knight f3, we can now exchange the pawns and then bring out the bishop as usual. If he attacks, we take the knight, and after queen takes, we pick up a free pawn. Going back, instead of h3, if he continues with his normal development, we will continue with the same game plan. First e6, now the knight cannot go here, so knight e7. If he tries something like bishop g5, we again have this brilliant queen b6 double attack and white ends up in serious trouble. Going back, if he continues normally, is the same plan. Just reposition your knight, then develop the other bishop and castle king side. If you're an aggressive player, you can also break with f6, exchange these pawns. Queen b6 is always a good option and you can attack along the f file. Alright, so we've looked at the exchange variation, we've looked at the advanced variation, but what if he tries to defend this pawn? Well, we'll discuss that as well, but before moving on, I would like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Guys, just like an intense chess game, life can also be very stressful. Whenever I am in a stressful or anxious situation, I try to distract myself. But most of the times your thoughts are not in your control. That's when you need the help of a professional therapist who can take care of your mental health. Finding the right therapist can be a daunting experience, but BetterHelp makes it very easy for you. Well, BetterHelp is an amazing online platform where you can seek therapy at your own convenience. It's online, it's remote, and just by answering a few questions, you get matched to a suitable professional therapist. The best part is that if you don't really get along with that therapist, you can even switch to a new one at no additional cost. So basically, BetterHelp wants to make therapy more affordable and more accessible so that you can start living a happy and healthy life. It's really easy to sign up. All you need to do is go to this link, betterhelp.com/chesstalk. That's better, HELP. And using this link, you'll get 10% off on your first month. Link is in the description box below, so do check it out. Alright, so after e4, c6, d4, d5, Now let's see how to respond when white tries to defend this pawn. Let's look at knight c3 first. We are getting the opportunity to break the center, so let's just go for it. D takes on e4 and knight takes on e4. Following the same game plan, let's develop the knights. First, knight f6. If he takes, we take back with the e pawn. And don't worry about these double pawns because this time we will attack the king side with all our pieces, especially if we castle short. By the way, this is called the Tartakower variation. Now in this position, since we don't have any pawns on these light squares, this bishop becomes a lot more valuable. Therefore, giving it up for the knight might not always be fruitful. So let's wait before committing it to g4 since it can be easily pushed back. In the meanwhile, let's bring out this bishop. Then castle, white does the same, and we position our rook on the open file. Now we will have to make some adjustments for this knight and the bishop. In this case, both these squares are in white's control, so our bishop goes to e6. Now our knight can't go here, and since our focus is on the king side, we will rotate the knight like this. So first knight d7, queen c2 attacks this pawn, so we bring in our knight, and now with queen d7, our plan is to attack the king. Now this is just a sample game I want to show you which continues with a beautiful bishop sacrifice. Pawn takes, queen takes, it's a double threat so he defends the knight. We keep attacking and ultimately after the knight moves away, we have a queen check, the bishop is gone, another check and this time the knight is gone and from here black is completely winning and that's an example of how you can demolish your opponents using the Caro-Kann. Now let me show you one final variation which many people believe is a good weapon for white against the Caro-Kann. So after we challenge the center, white can defend with a very unusual looking move, pawn to f3. We call this the fantasy variation. You won't see this very often because obviously this weakens the king side. Now because of this unique setup, this is probably the only variation where we will deviate a little from our original plan. Ideally we would have played something like knight f6 but then e5 is a problem. Therefore, in this position, I would recommend you straight away counter-attack in the center. This might look like a silly sacrifice, but the idea here is to open up this important diagonal to attack the exposed king. So after pawn takes, we first bring up the bishop, then we have the queen, and this already looks so dangerous for white. If he's not careful and he just saves his knight, then he can pack his bags and go home because we have a beautiful checkmate just like this. Going back, in this position, if he does not take this pawn and play some random move like c3, then after takes, we have this deadly queen h4 check. And after one more check, the rook is gone. Basically, this fantasy variation is a lot more tactical as compared to the other lines, so you need to be prepared for that. And just one more thing. If we look at the opening, instead of d4, if white plays some other move like say knight f3, our game plan is still the same. We attack the center, take the pawn, and after a few more moves, you will notice that we transpose into the same exchange variation that we discussed earlier. And for example, in this position, if he doesn't take and let's say he pushes forward, then bishop g4, d4, e6, and eventually we transpose into the advanced variation. So with the Caro-Kann, you have this simplified game plan and it's so easy to understand that you can literally use this opening for the rest of your life. Alright, so it's puzzle time. In this position, it is white's turn and you need to find the best move for white. Share your answers in the comments. Let's see how many of you get this right. Guys, do subscribe to the channel and I shall see you in the next one.